Here's something that's going to sound completely backwards, and maybe even a little uncomfortable. The more available you are, the less she wants you. Not because you're not good enough, not because you said the wrong thing, but because your presence, given freely and constantly, is quietly telling her subconscious mind that you have nothing better to do. And here's the paradox nobody talks about. The moment you stop trying to keep her interested is often the exact moment she starts chasing you instead. Most guys have been sold the same tired advice. Text her back fast. Always be there. Never let her wonder where you are. That advice isn't just wrong. It's the single biggest reason attraction dies quietly, one instant reply at a time. Because attraction isn't built on availability. It's built on the gap, the mystery, the small ache of not knowing. Take that gap away and you're not being a good guy. You're erasing the one thing that made her want you in the first place. If you've ever watched someone lose interest in you the moment you got too close, too fast, too available, comment "felt that" below, because this video is about to explain exactly why that happened, and more importantly, how to flip it. By the end of this, you're going to understand the exact formula for calibrated absence, one that makes her chase without you saying a single manipulative word. So if you're serious about mastering this, hit like, subscribe, and stay until the end, because the last part of this video covers what to do the moment she comes back chasing, and messing that part up can undo everything you just built. Here's something most guys get completely backwards, and it costs them more than they'll ever realize. A man who's always available, always texting back in seconds, always dropping everything to answer her. He thinks he's being loyal. He thinks he's showing her how much he cares. But underneath, without meaning to, he's broadcasting something else entirely: desperation. And desperation is the one thing that kills attraction faster than almost anything on earth. Think about the last time someone was always there, no matter what. Didn't it start to feel a little less special over time? Now here's the first reframe, and it's one of those ideas that flips everything once it clicks. She cannot miss someone who never actually left. Absence isn't a punishment, it's oxygen. Without it, there's nothing for her mind to reach for, nothing to wonder about, nothing to chase. A relationship, or even the early spark before one, needs breathing room the same way a fire needs air. Suffocate it with constant presence, and it doesn't burn brighter. It just goes out. But here's where a lot of guys mess it up trying to apply this. And this is the second reframe. This isn't about faking a disappearing act to manipulate her. It's about actually building a life interesting enough that absence happens naturally. A man training for something, building a business, deep into a hobby, seeing his friends, chasing his own goals. He doesn't need to strategically go quiet. His life does that for him. That's the real target here. Not a trick, but a life so full that she has to fit into it, not the other way around. There's a concept worth sitting with for a second. Call it her subconscious radar. It's always running in the background, even when she's not aware of it, constantly scanning and measuring. How much does this man value his own time? How much does he value himself? Every reply, every check-in, every moment of over-eagerness gets picked up by that radar and processed instantly. And here's the brutal part. Too much presence doesn't just fail to raise your value on her radar. It collapses it almost immediately, like a stock crashing the moment the market senses desperation. So the real question becomes, if her radar is always measuring, always scanning for value, what exactly is it looking for? What makes it lock on instead of scroll right past? That's where this gets interesting, because the answer isn't more effort. It's the opposite of what almost every guy has been taught to do. There's a truth that sounds almost too simple, but it explains more about attraction than most dating advice ever will. The female brain processes scarcity in a strikingly similar way to how it processes desire. The two get tangled together, wired almost as one signal. When something feels limited, rare, or uncertain, the brain pays more attention to it, not less. It's the same mechanism that makes a closing sale window feel urgent, or a limited seat at a sold-out event feel valuable. Attraction runs on that exact same wiring. Now think about what happens when a man removes all of that. Total availability, replying instantly, always free, always one call away, erases the one thing that keeps a spark alive: emotional tension. That gap, that little will he, won't he feeling, that mild uncertainty, it's not a flaw in the process, it's the engine of it. Take away the tension, and what's left isn't comfort, it's flatness. A relationship without any tension doesn't feel safe to her. It feels finished before it even started. Picture that radar again, the one constantly scanning for value. A radar works by detecting motion. It locks onto things that shift, move, change position. But a man standing still, always in the same spot, always predictable, always reachable, he becomes radar invisible. Not because he's boring as a person, but because there's nothing left to track. Movement is what gets noticed. Stillness gets ignored. That leads to the whole foundation for everything that follows. The moment a man disappears, not out of anger, not as a manipulation tactic, but simply by living his life, that radar doesn't shut off. It switches into search mode. It starts scanning harder, pinging more often, trying to relocate what it lost track of. And this part is worth remembering. Search generates obsession. The mind doesn't let go of an open loop easily. It keeps circling back, trying to close it. Which raises the obvious next question. How does a man actually pull this off? Not by ghosting out of spite, not by playing games, but by doing something specific enough that it works with precision instead of luck. Because there's a real system to this, and getting it wrong can backfire just as easily as getting it right. Most conventional dating advice tells men to do the exact opposite of what actually works. To always be consistent, always available, always the reliable one, texting back within minutes. Throw that advice out for a second, because consistency without scarcity doesn't build attraction, it builds a comfortable friendship. What follows are 3 principles that flip that script entirely, and they work precisely because almost nobody applies them on purpose. Principle 1. Silence is a statement. Not responding immediately isn't rudeness, and it isn't a power move either. It's calibration. A man who takes a few hours or even a day to reply isn't punishing her. He's simply communicating a fact. He has a life that doesn't revolve around his phone. Compare that to a business owner who answers every single email the second it lands, versus one who replies within a reasonable window because he's actually running something. Which one seems busier, more in demand, more valuable? Silence used this way speaks louder than any text ever could. Principle 2, the pullback test. Pulling back slightly, texting a little less, initiating a little less, giving a little more space isn't a trick, it's diagnostic. Her reaction to that small gap reveals exactly where a man stands in her hierarchy of priorities. If she notices, reaches out, adjusts her own effort, that's real interest. If nothing changes at all, that's information too. Just not the kind anyone wants to admit. Either way, the pullback test tells the truth faster than any conversation could. Principle 3, comfort in your own absence. This is the principle that separates the men who pull this off from the ones who fumble it. A man who disappears while anxiously checking his phone, refreshing the conversation, waiting for a reply, he comes back weaker because that anxiety leaks through the moment contact resumes. But a man who disappears with genuine ease, who's actually enjoying his own time, his own goals, his own life, he comes back with something impossible to fake: quiet confidence. Think of an athlete who takes a break from training without panicking about losing progress, trusting the process instead. That same trust applies here. Put these 3 principles together and a clear pattern emerges. None of them are about tricks or scripts. They're about a shift in posture, a shift in what a man is actually doing with his time and attention, which naturally leads to the next piece of the puzzle. How does a man structure this in a way that's repeatable, deliberate, and precise, instead of random and inconsistent? Here's where all of this stops being theory and turns into something a man can actually apply, step by step. Call it the 3-2-1 formula. A simple structure that takes everything from the principles before and turns it into a repeatable rhythm instead of guesswork. The first phase is 3 days of calibrated presence. This isn't about vanishing right away. It's about being present, but not available around the clock. A man still replies, still shows up, still engages, but on his own schedule instead of hers. Think of it like a business that responds to every client, but on a reasonable timeline instead of instantly refreshing the inbox every 5 minutes. That small shift alone starts recalibrating how she experiences his attention. The second phase is 2 days of strategic silence. No initiating contact, no reaching out first, no filling the space just to avoid discomfort. This is the part most men struggle with because silence feels like it might cost them something. But this is exactly where the space starts working in his favor. Letting her mind wander, letting that radar switch into search mode, letting the gap do what conversation never could. The third phase is one return, done with lightness, coming back as if nothing happened. No over-explaining, no apologizing for being distant, no drama attached to the silence. Calm communicates value in a way that words rarely can. Picture someone walking back into a room after stepping out for a few minutes, completely at ease, versus someone walking invisibly anxious about where they'd been. One reads as secure, the other reads as needy, even if the actual absence was identical. Applied together, these 3 phases create a rhythm instead of a random disappearing act. Presence, space, then an easy return, repeated as a pattern rather than a one-time stunt. And that raises the next natural question. Once the return happens, how does a man handle what comes next without over-explaining everything that just unfolded? Without breaking the exact effect he worked to create? One rule matters more than almost any other in this entire process. Never explain the absence. The moment a man justifies where he was or why he went quiet, the entire effect collapses instantly. An explanation closes the loop her mind was working to complete. And once that loop closes, so does the curiosity that came with it. So what does coming back actually look like without falling into that trap? It's simpler than most guys expect. A short, light message, something that references nothing about the silence at all. Not sorry, I've been busy. Not, hey, I know I went quiet. Just a normal, easy opener, like reacting to something funny, sharing a quick thought, or picking up a conversation as if barely any time passed. The absence itself does the talking. The message doesn't need to. Here's the mechanism behind why this works so well. The less context a man provides, the more room her imagination has to fill in the blanks. And imagination almost always fills that space with something more compelling than the truth ever could be. A vague "was out of town" leaves room for a dozen interesting possibilities. A detailed explanation of running errands closes that door completely. Less information isn't a limitation here. It's the entire strategy. Consider how this plays out with anything valuable in life. A restaurant with no visible menu prices, fully booked for weeks, generates more interest than one posting discount coupons on every corner. Scarcity of information works the same way scarcity of access does. It signals value without a single word needing to explain it. The formula is straightforward. The less a man overshares about his time and whereabouts, the more magnetic the mystery around him becomes. None of this holds up, though, if it's built on nothing real. Which brings up a question worth sitting with before moving any further. Where exactly is the line between calculated absence and something that starts crossing into dishonesty? There's a distinction that separates the men who make this work long-term from the ones who burn it out fast. The difference between actually disappearing and just pretending to. A man who's genuinely building something, training, working, spending real time with people who matter to him. His absence is a byproduct of a full life. A man who's just sitting at home, phone face down on purpose, timing his replies with a stopwatch, he's performing absence, not living it. That distinction matters more than it seems, because her radar doesn't just detect presence or silence. It detects authenticity underneath both. A performance can hold up for a few days, maybe a couple weeks. But over time, small inconsistencies start leaking through. The story doesn't quite add up. The energy feels forced. The busy life doesn't seem to have any actual substance behind it. People sense manufactured effort even when they can't name exactly what feels off about it. Compare it to someone building a business versus someone playing pretend at building one. The first person has real projects, real deadlines, real friction. Their unavailability is simply a side effect of a demanding life. The second person has nothing behind the mask, and eventually that hollowness becomes visible to anyone paying close attention. The exact same principle applies here. A life has to actually exist behind the absence, or the effect quietly falls apart. This is really the whole foundation the entire system rests on. The 3-2-1 formula, the pullback test, the silence, none of it works as a manipulation tactic layered onto an empty life. It works because it's a reflection of a man who's already building something worth being absent for. Fake the mechanics without the substance, and it collapses the first time she notices the gap between what's said and what's real. So here's what actually sustains this long term. Not the tactic itself, but the life that makes the tactic true. And that raises a much bigger question than anything covered so far, because disappearing is only step one. The real test comes after, when she starts chasing back. Everything you just learned only means something the moment you actually use it. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. And if you close this video and go straight back to texting her every 5 minutes, replying instantly to every message, being available around the clock, none of this changes anything. So ask yourself honestly, are you living a life full enough that absence happens naturally? Or are you sitting there, phone in hand, waiting for her to notice you? The 3-2-1 formula isn't a trick you perform once and forget. It's a mindset shift, a way of operating that respects your own time as much as you respect hers. So here's the real question. What does your life look like right now without her in it? If the honest answer is not much, that's exactly where the work starts. Not with her, with you. Because at the end of the day, no formula, no calibration, no strategic silence is going to fix a life that has nothing behind it. The men who make this work aren't performing absence. They're living lives that naturally create it. So the real challenge isn't learning to disappear. It's building something worth disappearing into. If this shifted how you think about attraction, subscribe and turn on notifications, because what comes next, how to handle her when she comes back chasing without losing everything you just built, is where this actually gets tested. Don't miss it.